Hi, this is Jeff Wimmer from Studio Cycles and StudioCycles.com and the StudioCycles.com stores. I just want to touch briefly on the Star Trek Spinner NXT and the three different generations of NXTs. The first generation of NXT, on the down tube of the bike, it says Spinner and NXT in red letters. That's the first generation. Also, the first generation bike, if you look at the bottom bracket around the bearing, the bottom bracket's the bearing assembly that the crank arm rotates on. And on the non-drive side, you'll see the bearing. And first generation NXTs do not have a black ring around the bearing. Now, if we go to a third generation NXT, this is a third generation NXT here. In the third generation NXT, it says spinning on the down tube, and if you look around the bearing, you can clearly see a black ring around the bearing. Second generation NXTs are like the first generation NXT. On the down tube, it may say Spinner with NXT in red, but it will have the black ring around the bottom bracket bearing right there. What that black ring is it's a steel sleeve that they put into the frame. On the first generation NXTs, they press a steel bearing into an aluminum frame, and what happens is the bearing ends up boring out the port, or the bearing port that it seats into, and the entire bottom bracket mechanism starts to move inside the bike. And as a corrective measure for second half of the second generation and third generation NXTs, they put that steel sleeve in there where it eliminates the bearing's ability to bore the bearing port. And the point of telling you all this is that first generation NXTs are abundant. They're for sale. You'll see a lot of them for sale by used fitness equipment warehouses. And typical terminology from these used fitness equipment warehouses is they've been cleaned and serviced, which means nothing. Okay? Now, these green bikes are refurbished NXTs, and here's a brand new NXT. Here are a couple of NXTs that we're rebuilding, and we rebuild them. The frames, the bases, the cranks have been sent out and bead blasted and powder coated. Here's a finished NXT, first generation, with a bottom bracket correction done. And then over here, you have Star Trek Spinner NXT frames ready to be built. These are 5-year-old NXTs that have been bead blasted and powder coated, and they are, they're beautiful. They really turn out nicely when you do them correctly. Most fitness equipment warehouses buy these NXTs after they've been in a club for 3 or 4 years. They'll fluff them up or clean and service them, and they'll resell them for $600, $700, $800, or even as low as $500 or $600. But a first generation NXT, or for that matter, any commercial indoor bike that's been in a club 2, 3, 4 years, if you want to buy something that's solid and will last a lifetime, because these bikes never wear out, but after they've been in a club for 3 or 4 years, they need to be torn apart and rebuilt. Okay. Now, one more thing about third generation NXTs, or the current NXT version that's out there. In 2010, Star Trek went through a lot of changes. They were close to bankruptcy. They were bought by another company. They actually moved the NXT manufacturing facilities to India for a short spell. And there were a few NXTs floating around that came out of India, and I know because as a consultant to Star Trek and spinning, I see this stuff firsthand. And I've had NXT sent to me that I've actually identified imperfections and pointed them out to the manufacturer. So the current run of NXTs as of right now, I don't see any problems with them. It's what I have. It's what I have for sale. And my refurbished NXTs are absolutely perfect. My refurbished NXTs, and this is a current version of NXT here. It's been completely rebuilt. We have replaced everything on the inside. I mean, these bikes are beautiful. They really are beautiful bikes. When we're done with these bikes, we do a texture coat on the crank. We do a texture coat on the base. I mean, the bike is completely disassembled and rebuilt from the inside out. And if you look in all the small spots, I mean, we have brand new pads. We have brand new flywheel bearings. We have brand new bottom bracket bearings. Brand new saddles. This bike, there is no part of this bike that hasn't been completely gone through and redone. So be careful buying your NXT if it's used or if it's from a used fitness equipment warehouse. Do your homework, ask questions. Our certified pre-owned NXTs come with a lifetime warranty, lifetime parts replacement, brand new pedals. We also include one of our tech manuals, and we do lifetime email and phone tech support. So if you're shopping for a used NXT or even a new NXT, do your homework. Check out our free bike buy rate video library at studiocycles.com or at youtube.com/studiocycles. You can also call me for a free consultation, 888-909-BIKE. I'm Jeff Wimmer of Studio Cycles.